Let me know when we're ready. Hi everybody, I'm Fred Dancer. I'm a Senior Technical Advisor here at Parados. Parados makes ingredients for the baker and patissier and chocolatier. Today we're using authentic durum to make ciabatta. Authentic durum is the best product that we have to make authentic artisan style breads, crusty or otherwise. It gives you a nice Mediterranean flavor with some sourdough that we have in there as well. So starting with ciabatta, there's a couple different ways to go about it. Let me give you a little background on ciabatta. It was developed in Italy somewhere in the early 1980s. It was probably a lot earlier than that, but somebody took credit in the early 1980s to go after the French baguette. So it's made from white flour, olive oil, salt, and some yeast. But today we're going to use our authentic durum, olive oil, flour, and salt, which is what makes authentic such a great product, because you only need 4 ingredients to make wonderful bread. I need to start, ciabatta is a little tricky for anybody that's already made it. The mixing is extremely important, but due to time constraints, we're not going to be able to show you mixing today, so I'm just going to go over it a little bit. And I did a video that you're going to be able to get to through Instagram early next week. It should be finished by then. That way it'll show all the mixing techniques and everything, some other products plus the baking. So everything will be in a nice video that you can go back and forth to look at. Mixing, again, very important. Any of you that's made ciabatta before, you've put all the water in there with the flour, and if you're talking 75% hydration or 80% hydration, you found that it really was like porridge. You can't get it to develop, you don't get a very nice dough, and then you keep asking questions, how come I can't make ciabatta? I think the recipe calls for 80% hydration. Well, the secret to making ciabatta, or the way that you should be making it, is you put the flour in. All your ingredients is flour, salt, olive oil, authentic durum, and if you have, say, 1 kilo of water, just put 80% of that in there. So only 800 grams you put in there. That way it'll develop, you get everything moving nicely, and then as it develops, you can start adding the rest of the water, the rest of the 20%, a little at a time. It's going to break down. It's going to build back up, break down, build back up, until you get a very nice texture with a lot of strength. It's going to be easy to use. It's not going to be sticky, as you can see with the doughs that I'm going to be using today. It's definitely not sticky. It doesn't run through your fingers, and you get very nice products. Okay, so I'm going to do about 6 or 7, depending how much time I have, of products, and I'll show you how to make them. And again, you'll be able to reach the mixing part and the baking part in the video next week. So first I want to show you the dough. Once you put it in your container, once it's finished mixing, you put a little oil in the mixing bowl, and then you make sure you have oil or pan spray in your container. You can see it's nice. It should double in size, almost triple in size. Got a nice little fluidity to it. And if you don't want it to stick all over your bench, copious amounts of flour. I use a mixture of durum flour and white flour. Gives it a little nicer color in the bake. It also adds a little bit to the flavor. And what's nice with the flour, it also gives it a nice look on the ciabatta as well. So you don't have to dust it or anything like that. It's already going to be taken care of here. So the first one we're going to make is your traditional ciabatta. And the way I'm going to show it to you, we don't do any scoring here. This opens naturally, and you get a really nice, beautiful look. Again, make sure you have some oil in your container, otherwise this could be messy. Now, as you can see, you got plenty of bubbles. Lots of fermentation. It sat in, it bulk fermented about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the temperature of the dough and the room that you're storing it. A little bit more flour on top so you can work it. And then just, excuse me, the most important thing is you just spent all this time building the gases up in there. You don't want to beat it down. So just be a little gentle with it. Stick your hands underneath, pull it out. And you can see it, not sticky. You have a nice dough. This is exactly what you want. And then just use flat hands and lightly spread it out to where you want it to be. Okay, once we get here, we're going to be cutting out pieces, so we want to square off the edge. And just put the dough aside, because I'll show you what you can do with it later, but you can either use it for a biga, your next day, or put it in your next dough, or I'll show you later what I did with it. So what we're going to do with this one, I usually go by fingers. So 3 fingers is a good width. Unless you have sausage fingers, then maybe 2.5. If you have smaller fingers, then go a little wider. But usually for me, 3 fingers is good. Cut straight down. And the key here now is turn it up. Where you just cut, you got this seam facing up. Stand it on its side. Takes a little help, pat it down a little bit. And I cut the same way. I'll just use my scraper. Take the end off. Again, put it with your scrap dough. And for that size, I just use 2 scrapers. And then you have the flour here, just roll it over so the bottom seam is facing up. And then you can put it on your board. Roll it over. I'm using a cornmeal board. You can use a couche, but I recommend that you have something underneath it there, because if it sticks, again, you're gonna lose all that gas that you have, that you spent all that time to develop. I'll do it again for you. 3 fingers. Facing up. You can see it's really easy to work with. It's not sticky. It's not sticking to everything. Of course, I got copious amounts of flour, but again, the dough is really nice. Where you can see it's easy to work with. Just cut the end off. 2 scrapers. And put it on your board. Now you're already, like I said, you spent a lot of time doing this bulk fermentation. So before baking, you really can leave it on the floor for about 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes before you put it in the oven. or in the proof box, you know, very low temperature and humidity for, again, 30 minutes. But depending on the temperature of your room, then you should be okay. And in the end, that's the type of product you're going to end up with. Nice holes, nice soft crumb. And if you have any questions on the procedures that I'm doing, you know, if we have time, we'll get to it at the end. And I got enough dough that I can do it again for you. The next one we're going to do is what we call is unmolded baguette. Again, very easy to do. Similar to the ciabatta that I just did. 2 fingers. Really don't have to cut the end off on these. And just make sure it's even. You have the same amount of dough going all the way across. And I do three scrapers. You don't have to turn anything over, and just pick it up and put it on your board. Again, you have to handle it gently, so you're not squeezing that gas out of it. But it's still, again, it's still pretty easy to use. See, if you got like a little fat part here, then just, you know, stretch it out a little bit. I think you see it on the board. It just, and again, it's the same amount of time as the regular ciabatta, 30 minutes, and you should be ready to go in the oven. One of the questions, how do we know when ciabatta dough is fully proofed? I'm not sure if you mean bulk fermentation or before it goes in the oven. Bulk fermentation? Bulk fermentation, like I said, it's probably going to double in size. You don't want to go too far where it's overgassed, and then when you lay it down on the bench, it just disintegrates. So you have to know double in size, maybe 2.5 times the size. But you just touch it, you can see that it's bouncing back a little bit, then it's good to go. But usually the double in size, 2.5 times is good. The next one we're going to do little rolls. If you need some dinner rolls, again, very easy. You can do everything that you can do with any other dough with ciabatta dough. You just got to, the handling is very important. So again, 2 fingers. And then maybe 3 fingers. It's up to you what size you want. You could turn these on their side like you do the regular ciabatta, or just leave them flat the way they are here. Even some of your scrap that you have there, cut it the size of a roll and you're good to go. Do one more. And again, you can just use your imagination on what you want to make. You can take long pieces, twist it. Larger ones, again, we're going to do a whole bunch of different ones here today. And if you have any questions, just submit them. I'm looking at this big screen here. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll make something up. Oh, no? I can't say that? Sorry. Scrap, though. All right, what's next on our list? We have a sandwich roll. Just a basic square or rectangle. The dough we have left here, it's going to be probably four fingers. And again, cut the end off. Beautiful dough for your next dough or another bread. And then it's just one scraper size. Now with this type of bread, this is the type of thing you would see in a grocery store. They have industrial machines that make stress-free lines, they call them, so it doesn't put a lot of pressure on them. And they can cut out hundreds of thousands of these, all the same size. A lot of times they can leave it like this, like that one, like those over there, or you can put a little slice down the middle, and you have a whole different product. All right. Again, some flour. Make sure you cover up all the bare spots. Wasn't me. Okay, I have a question. What was the percentage of water in this? This was 75% total water on flour weight, but you have to keep in mind there's 2% of olive oil, which counts also a little bit as something wet. But there's 75, and again, depends on the flour that you're using. If you're using a strong flour, you can probably put quite a bit more. I mean, I've made dough that was 100% hydration, so it was 100% flour, 100% water. It's a little bit more difficult to handle. It is going to be a little stickier, but you can do it. But you have to use the same mixing principles that I said in the beginning. You have to add water a little at a time. Take the edge, always square off the edge. Got some extra dough, and we'll do one more of these. I think we're at 4. You can see this is what it's all about. When somebody talks about ciabatta and long bulk fermentation, the most important ingredient in any artisan type of bread is time. The more time you give it, the better it is. And you see all those nice bubbles coming. And again, depending on how long it takes you to do it, if you do a whole rack or whatever, they're going to be ready to go right into the oven by the time you get to it. All right. So now we have a larger pave, as they call it. Again, you do about the same procedure. You get really nice open crumb. And this is all, you know, we just put little cuts in there, little scores, to help it look a little nicer. But you do it exactly the same way, just a little larger. So it's about an extended hand. Excuse me. Maybe 1.5. And you can see how I'm handling it. You just get your fingers underneath of it. Because if you do this, you can see there's nothing left after a while, after you beat it up. It'll be nice in the scrap dough tomorrow, but not for today. And one more. And you can see as much time as we're taking here, it really starts moving. It's a good temperature in here. It's about 72, 73 degrees. Any questions so far? How do I prevent all the gas bubbles from leaving the dough during scaling? You just got to be very gentle. I'm going to scale off some pieces right now. We're going to do focaccia. So I need I make them into little squares. It's a little easier. And again, you have this nice dough that you can make anything with. I have a little bit of olive oil that we just add a little bit to the bottom of the pan. You see it over here. Just a little bit. Very good. And then we'll scale off I did 12-ounce pieces for these. And if you have extra piece, you know, if you need to put some extra pieces on there, I recommend just put them on the bottom and put the big piece on top. And you got your scraps here that you can use. Okay, and what you want to do is just make sure that it's just spread out a little bit, because you're going to proof this for a little while and it's going to spread out in the pan. We got one more here. With the miracle of TV, I have some already ready, and I'll show you how to finish them up. Make some room here. So we have the focaccia already. You see where it proofed up, it doubled in size almost, that was inside here. Take that olive oil that you had, and you're not going to really degas the focaccia, but get your hands in the oil a little bit, it feels good. And just lightly put your fingers down on it. Look at the bubbles. You're going to get a nice flavor, nice texture. There's a number of things you can do with this now. You can put sliced tomatoes, herbs. I'm going to put some rosemary and sea salt. Not too much salt. We know it's not good for you, but it tastes good. And then you're ready to go into the oven. And the finished product looks like this. And you get a really nice focaccia. You get the nice holes. It's nice and soft, crispy on the top, and you can see where you have a very nice crumb on the inside. Nice and soft. Now you got a question, can you mix herbs or other things into the dough during mixing, or should they always go on top? Absolutely, you can add grains into it. I suggest soft grains because it'll retain the moisture. If you're using hard grains, it'll take a lot of the moisture away. But certainly herbs, spices, you just got to be careful what you use that it doesn't restrict the natural fermentation. Onions, garlic, stuff like that. I think it's better to put that on top. Do we have time to do another one, or? Okay. I'm here as long as you want. All right, next one we're gonna do is a pan loaf, and it makes beautiful sandwich bread that you can you get the nice open crumb. And again, what I suggest when we do all the baking, and again it'll show it in the video, but you have to use a very hot temperature, like 460, 475, to bake, to get that initial for the first couple minutes, and then reduce it. But you definitely need that initial heat in the beginning. Okay. So I had already pre-made some loaves. You can see this is already extra bulk fermented. And it's real simple. Again, you have to be real careful with it. This is scaled at like 550 grams. Just light roll over. Put it in the pan. Again, this is a little over pre-fermented, but again, you're going to get a very nice loaf here. This is going to be super, super open crumb structure. And again, don't squeeze it. Don't try to roll it like you would do a normal bread. Just nice and light, just so it fits into the pan. And again, you don't have to do anything to it. You have an artisan, nice artisan loaf. Okay? Any questions? Once again, there's going to be a video on our Instagram and website explaining the mixing. Again, some processes. I have some other loaves that probably couldn't get to, but they are on the website and the Instagram video. One quick thing. I got all this extra dough here. Just make a bowl out of it. Then bake it off, and you're going to get a loaf similar to this. This is scrap dough that I used from a previous day. What kind of pan bread was it? What is the name? We just call it an artisan pan loaf because we give it the bulk fermentation and time, and we bake at a very hot temperature. And again, there's no sugar in this, so you have to bake at a hot enough temperature to get color that we get through the fermentation, which helps with getting color as well. Okay? I thank everybody. If you would like to see how to mix the dough in more detail, look for our Instagram on our website next week and the video. You can find today's recipe or byproducts, which is nice, 24/7 on our website at paradas.us. And if you could please tag your social media posts with hashtag sourdough difference. Paradas will donate $1 per hashtag used to the Ronald McDonald House. That's a cool thing. And again, follow Paradas US on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook to keep track of future Instagram live feeds, or MyLink platform for digital services. Again, thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming back. I hope I see you again in another month. Take care.